Hi, my name is George Elder, and I'm the president and operator of Adonai Software. The topic today is synchronizing database schemas in Iron Speed Designer. First off, what is a database schema? Simply put, a database schema is a formal language supported by the database management system. In short, is the DBMS for Database Management System. In relational database, the schema defines the tables, the fields in each table, and the relationship between fields and tables. The schema are generally stored in a data dictionary. A data dictionary, simply put, is just a textual content of how the database looks and acts. Although a schema is defined in text database language, the term is often used to refer to a graphical depiction of the database structure. Synchronizing the database has three levels of database schema. First is your conceptual schema, a map of concepts and relationships. The second is the logical schema, a map of entities and their attributes and relations. The third is physical schema, a particular implementation of a logical schema. Fourth, the schema object, like an Oracle database object, SQL Server database object, MySQL database object, etc. And the fifth is schema is the overall structure of the database. So basically, this is what makes your database operate the way it does. Part of a database, or part of the development of a database, in its very useful tool is called the ERD, which is the Entity Relationship Diagram. Now, an ERD is often used as a way to visualize a relational database. Each entity represents a database table, and the relationship line represents the key or the keys in one table to point to specific records in a relating table. ERDs may also be more abstract, not necessarily capturing every table needed within a database, but serving to diagram the major concept and relationship. It basically gives you an idea what your database is going to look like on paper, textually. Here's an example of an ERD. Now, we're not going to get too in-depth on ERDs. That's for another class, but essentially this is what it looks like. And the boxes depict the table entities, and then you have the primary keys and the foreign keys and how they point and relate to each other. In Iron Speed Designer, the best way to get to synchronizing your database schema is you use database drop-down, and you have basically three methods of synchronizing your database. They are, you synchronize database schema. It synchronizes all the changes to the underlying database without checking. All changes are accepted automatically. The second is synchronizing database schema, scan only. This is where you check for all the changes in your database. And it checks the changes in the underlying database but does not accept any changes as of yet. It gives you a picture of all changes to the database. The third is accept changes for selected tables. Now, this makes all the selected changes that you pretty much saw in number 2. So when you scan it, no changes are made, but you take you accept changes for selected tables, it changes everything. And we'll do a live demonstration to depict how this works. Let's move on to the live demo. Here's Iron Speed Designer opened up, and let's go up to databases. As you can see, the databases have synchronized database schema, synchronized database schema scan only, and accept changes for all tables. Now, let's do a scan and see if any changes have been made. Nope, no changes. Let's go to the database portion of IronSpeed Designer, and as you see, everything's basically synchronized and there's no changes that have been made. Now, we're going to go to the database, and to understand what we're doing here, I use the SoftWind database, and if you don't have the SoftWind database, you can basically download it in Microsoft as a part of the sample databases. You can get the SoftWind database. And if you look, I'm going to look at the tables, and the one that we want to make changes to is the customers. And let's look at the columns for the customers. As you notice, there's no state that goes with the customers, but there is a city, a region, and a postal code. So we want to basically add a state column. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and go in design mode and add a state column right above region. Okay, let's add a state column. There's state. I'm going to make it an invarchar, just like the rest of them. But we're going to put 2 characters, like for KN, or I'm sorry, KY for Kentucky, and GA for Georgia, and etc. And we're going to go ahead and save those changes. So now we've made changes to our underlining database, but how is IronSpeed going to know that we made any changes? We made changes to state, but IronSpeed has no way of knowing. Okay, so we'll go back to IronSpeed and we'll do a check, and let's synchronize the database, and let's do a scan only. Wow, look at that. IronSpeed picked up the fact that we changed the state and added that column, but it's depicted in orange, so that means that we just read it, we didn't add it. So let's go ahead and accept those changes. Okay, IronSpeed now accepted those changes, and state is a part of the customer's table, and it's a U.S. state, and the default is California, but we don't want that. We want Colorado because that's where we are. Actually, we'll just leave it at California. Okay, so let's go back to the form, and we're going to be using the Add Customers form. As you can see, there is no reference to state here, so we have to add it. So let's add a row. Actually, let's save it and run it. And you'll see that there's no state involved. Takes a minute for it to come up. Okay, here's our application, and there's a city, region, postal code, and country. No state. So we need to go back to IronSpeed and add that field. Okay, let's add a field. We want to add a row above, so it'll correspond right below city, like normally city and state. Let's go to that field and find the state field. There it is. And essentially we're going to put the state field in the form. Actually, that's the label. Whenever you have a label, it always puts label at the end, so that lets you know that it's a label. So we're going to go up to the field, which is state. We're going to drag and drop that in there. Okay, now that we have the state depicted on the form, let's build and run it. And you should build every time. And we're going to run it. Takes a few minutes for it to load. Just a few more minutes. Okay, we have it. As you can see, now state is depicted right under city. And IronSpeed, right out of the box, did this really miraculous thing for you, and it set up all the states for you. All the states in the United States. So, if we pick Kentucky, and let's save a record to make sure it works. So, as a customer, we're just going to put Steve, and a company would be Adonai Software Inc. And let's save it. It saved it. Let's go to customers and do a show and find that customer. Whoops, not by email, but we're going to find him by company name. And I put the wrong, but it doesn't matter. As you can see, Steve Adonai Software is saved to the database. And if we go to the database and do a query and look up that name, if we go down to the last one that was created, you can see Steve as the customer and the company name. So it works. Well, we're going to take that out so that you can see when you make another change to a database or you remove an item from the database, it also removes it from IronSpeed if you do the synchronization. So let's remove the state objects, remove the row. Okay, as you can see, we still have city, but there's no more state. So we're going to go to the database and we're going to remove that object from the database as well. We're going to remove the state column, delete it, city, region, no more state, and we need to save it. It is saved. Well, how is IronSpeed going to know? The only way is you do a synchronization. So we go back up to databases and let's just do a scan only. As you can see, it showed that state was deleted. So it worked. So let's go and accept those changes. And it shows that it deleted all the objects that are connected to state. Let's go back and build and run it. And as you will see, state is not included. Takes a few minutes. As you can see, city, postal code, there is no state. So IronSpeed deleted it and synced with the database. And it basically pictures your database exactly, and that's what the synchronization is for. Well, we're done with the live demo, and if there are any questions, feel free to contact me at the numbers below, and I appreciate your attendance in this video demonstration. Thank you.